This is Death by Secret Santa, a hilarious feel-good cozy mystery, Island Whodunit, Book 19. Written by Tess Marlowe and narrated by Sarah.
Hi, Tess Marlowe here. Before Chapter 1 begins, please take 1 second to look at your screen and hit subscribe. It helps me bring you more free cozy mysteries.
Chapter 1. Reg had made it exactly 3 steps onto the porch before he stopped dead. "What the hell are you doing?" Shannon froze mid-snow blast, one hand gripping a can of snow spray, the other braced against their garden fence. Most of the fake snow had landed on the wood. A generous amount had landed on Shannon. She blinked at him through a haze of fake flakes. "It's washable. Probably. You know why we all moved to this island, right? Not to see that white goo anymore." Bombay sniffed the fake snow, sneezed and plopped into the grass with a sigh. Alex stepped out of the unit, took one look at the fence, one look at Shannon's hair, and sighed. "I assume Gary got to you too." Shannon nodded. "He recruited me last night. Said the entire compound has to look magical for the party. And you know, I'm a sucker for magical." "Sounds about right," Alex murmured. Reg rubbed his forehead. Why is he on a Christmas high? It's been non-stop since December 1st. "I asked him," Shannon said. "He got all weird and said Christmas is very important." I didn't push. He had that look. "The woo-woo conspiracy one?" "Yup." Before Reg could ask how many fences Shannon had already improved, a familiar voice called out from the walkway. "You haven't seen half of it yet." Lucian jogged up the path, looking ecstatic. Reg narrowed his eyes. "What now?" "The Christmas tree arrives today." Reg shrugged. "Big deal. Plastic ones are on sale in every supermarket." "Yeah, no, not plastic. A real one. And it's huge." Alex lowered her mug. "How huge are we talking?" Lucien stretched his arms wide, like takes 4 men and a forklift huge. Reg stared at him. "Lucian, there is no universe where the compound management pays to ship a real Christmas tree here. Those things cost a fortune." "Well, they actually did," Lucian said casually. "Turns out Gary tried for years and they always refused, but this year they finally caved, with a little help from yours truly." He took a theatrical bow. "Lucien, what did you do?" Alex looked at him suspiciously. Lucien glanced at Shannon, then at Reg, then lowered his voice. "I may have stumbled upon some leverage." "Stumbled upon or dug up from the depths of the internet?" Reg raised his brow. Lucian blushed. "I plead the fifth." "Man, we're not in America." "He hacked the general manager's laptop," Shannon blurted. "I prefer accessed through alternative pathways," Lucian muttered. Alex sighed. "Lucian, you're a sworn-in police officer." "What did you find?" Reg asked, suddenly getting excited. Lucian hesitated. Let's say there were photos. Very compromising photos. With lots of latex. And leather. In very unconventional colors." "Chartreuse, turquoise, and magenta," Shannon said with a knowing look. Reg blinked. "So let me get this straight. You and Gary blackmailed the general manager of Isla and Casa Lirio Corporation for a Christmas tree." Lucien lifted a finger. "Technically, it was fur_lover26@gmail.com, and we wrote please and thank you." Alex covered her face. "Oh, God." Lucian shrugged. "The man's got good posture for his age, and honestly, he's into some impressive stretches." Reg shook his head. "I'm not hearing this." "Just don't tell Mendoza. If she finds out, she'll kill me, then fire me, then put me in jail. Probably in that progression." Reg shook his head. "I'm still asleep. I haven't heard any of this." 10 minutes later, just as Shannon was finishing her spray snow escapade, the rumble of a heavy engine rolled through the compound, followed by Polly's voice cutting through the morning like a deranged foreman. "Tighten the bolts, you clowns!" Reg set his coffee down. "That can't be good?" Shannon shaded her eyes. "Oh, that's definitely the tree." They followed the noise down the path, past bushes sprinkled with Shannon's questionable snow. Another shout from Polly echoed, "Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, safety violation!" "Why does he know that?" Alex muttered. "Because he watches YouTube together with Gary," Shannon said, "and because he's a very smart bird." They rounded the corner, and all three stopped. A truck the size of a small ferry was backed up against the plaza's dried-out fountain. 4 contractors wrestled with the bottom half of an enormous fir, easily 20 feet tall, while Polly supervised from a lamppost, wearing a Santa hat at a 45-degree angle. Bombay sat by the lamppost and decided to supervise too. At the center of the chaos, wearing a hard hat with reindeer antlers zip-tied to it, stood Gary. Alex whispered, "Oh my God, it's huge!" Reg folded his arms. "Must have been very compromising photos." Shannon snorted. "Colorful too." One of the contractors yelled, "Sir, we need the base steadier." Gary spun. "Steady, steady, Eiffel Tower steady, Egyptian pyramids steady. Jeremy, that's not steady, that's barely linear." Polly screamed, "Lin-ear," just to be helpful. Alex bit back a laugh. "He's really in his element." "In his own universe, more like," Reg said. Gary spotted them and brightened instantly. He jogged over, antlers wobbling. "Hi, perfect timing. Isn't she beautiful?" He gestured toward the tree as if he'd personally raised it from seed. "She's something," Reg allowed. Gary practically bounced. "I want it done right. No shortcuts, no tilting, no falling on unsuspecting residents. I made diagrams." "Of course you did," Alex said gently. Gary shifted closer, lowering his voice. "Hey, Alex, could you do me a favor before things get really crazy?" "Sure," she said. "What's up?" He fished a small keyring out of his pocket and placed it in her hand. "Can you check on Ms. Applebaum for me? I didn't hear her shuffling last night." Alex blinked. "You have her keys?" "Oh," Gary shrugged. "Yeah, I do her grocery shopping. It's just easier if I have them. It takes her ages to open the door." Reg raised a brow but didn't comment. Gary swallowed. "I would go myself, but—" He waved at the tree, now rotating awkwardly as 2 men argued about angles. "If I leave now, that thing's taking out half the compound." Alex smiled. "You stay and supervise the installation. I'll check on her right now." Gary nodded, visibly relieved. "Tell her I found the cookies she likes, the ones with the sugar crust. I'll bring them later." "Of course." Gary clapped once, regaining his commander energy. "Okay, back to positions. Imagine she's the Rockefeller tree but happier." He jogged off, shouting instructions no one asked for, while Polly echoed every third word like a deranged Christmas elf. Alex looked at Reg and Shannon. "I'll go now before this whole thing collapses." "Yeah, let's get out of here," Reg said. Bombay gave a small, approving woof as Alex pocketed the keys. Gary raised his clipboard again. "Rotate, rotate, not like that. We discussed angles." Polly screeched, "Fire hazard," which did not help. Chapter 2. "It really is sweet of him, you know. Shopping for her, checking in, remembering what kind of cookies she likes," Alex said as they walked toward Gary's building. Reg grunted. "Yeah, he's Gary. If he adopts you, that's it. You're his." "It's nice being adopted if you're an elderly woman living alone." "Even by Gary," Alex said. Reg gave her a sidelong look. "I'm not so sure of that." "Oh, come on. He has a good heart." "I'm not saying he doesn't," Reg replied. "His intentions are coming from a good place. It's the execution that's often lacking. Blackmailing the general manager for a Christmas tree? Bit too much." Alex laughed. "Still, he's going all out for this party. Lights everywhere, a wreath on every door, and somehow he convinced the whole compound to participate in Secret Santa. That's kind of adorable." Reg snorted. "It's very Gary. He wants everyone to have at least one gift, no matter what." "That's sweet," Alex said. "Who'd you get, by the way?" "Can't tell you." Reg puffed up a little. "I'm taking my Secret Santa duties very seriously this year." Alex bumped his arm. "You're going to ask me to help you wrap it anyway, so you might as well tell me." I won't, Reg said, triumphant, because I already got it wrapped at the mall. Alex stopped mid-step. You outsourced wrapping? It was included, he said defensively. Reg narrowed his eyes. Who did you get? I'm not telling you either, Alex said, lifting her chin. Reg sighed. Fair. I wonder who got me. Are you worried you won't get a nice gift? To be honest, I'm not. Most of the compound are grandmas. Grandmas are big on baking, so it's either cookies or fudge or something like that. What if Shannon's your secret Santa? Now why did you have to ruin my sugary fantasy? I want cookies for Christmas, not another oversized conceptual piece of art. Bombay let out a small woof. Obviously, he preferred cookies, too. They passed the cluster of hibiscus shrubs Shannon had oversprayed with fake snow. The white glop was already sliding sadly off the petals in the sun. Alex tapped one drooping leaf. This looks like the saddest snow ever. Shannon said it was washable, Reg said. Let's hope she's right. She also said the glitter was biodegradable, Alex said, and we're still finding green sparkles all around the house from Halloween. Reg nodded solemnly. True. They walked another stretch in silence except for Bombay's rhythmic panting. The compound was quiet this early, with only a few blenders and coffee machines whirring to life. Alex glanced up at Gary's building. You know, I don't think I've ever actually seen Ms. Applebaum anywhere except on her balcony. Reg frowned. Yeah, same. I think I saw her downstairs once, but mostly she lives up there like, what's that thing in fairy tales? A hermit? No, the lady in the tower. Alex gave him a blank look. Rapunzel? Yeah, but older and louder. Alex laughed. She is loud. That's an understatement. Reg stopped briefly at a planter Bombay insisted on sniffing. That's how I actually first met her. I was asking Gary what Javier's ex-wife's name was, and he couldn't quite place it. She yelled it to me from above. She has a good memory for her age, Alex said. Better than most of us. That's all of their generation. They're built differently, Reg added. Look at my granddad. 92 and still sharp like he's 50. Alex smiled. Mark my words, the 4-star general is going to outlive all of us. Bombay barked as if seconding the thought. They went up the stairs to the second floor of Gary's building. Good thing we got a ground floor, Reg said. I never noticed, but these stairs are pretty steep. Are your knees flaring up again, Reginald? Alex said with a mischievous grin. For your information, Alexandra, my knees are steel. Reggie teased her back, as is the rest of this chiseled body. Alex made a face at him. Chiseled? Seriously? You sound like an airport paperback. Reg rolled his eyes. Just knock on the door already. Ms. Applebaum, it's Alex. Gary asked me to check on you, Alex said. They waited. Bombay sniffed the door and sat down. Alex knocked again, louder. Ms. Applebaum, are you okay? Still nothing. Reg shifted his weight. Try the keys. Maybe she's still asleep. Alex hesitated, then slid the key into the lock and pushed the door open. The apartment smelled of powdery, sweet floral perfume. The curtains were half drawn, letting in a narrow blade of morning light that cut across the living room rug. Everything was in its place, the crocheted blankets thrown over the sofa, the bowl of hard candies on the table, the shelf of neatly alphabetized paperbacks, and Ms. Applebaum in her armchair by the window. Reg stopped just behind Alex. Bombay stayed a step back, tail lowered but not alarmed. Ms. Applebaum sat with her hands folded lightly over a small, beautiful gift box. Her chin rested gently against her sweater collar. Her thin silver hair was brushed smooth. Her skin had a waxy, pale look Alex had seen too many times to misinterpret. Alex approached slowly, reached out and touched the older woman's wrist. She waited a moment, then looked over her shoulder. Reg. Her voice softened. She's dead. Chapter 3. Alex stepped toward the window, pulling out her phone. I'll call Crane. Reg nodded, staring at the empty little box on Ms. Applebaum's lap. It had a tiny, ornate label that read, To Althea. Alex tapped Crane's contact. Hi, Elliot, it's Alex. We're at Gary's building. His upstairs neighbor, an elderly lady, passed away. We're not sure when. Crane's voice was steady as ever. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Don't move anything. Open windows if the room feels stuffy. Thank you. We'll be waiting for you here. Crane muttered something unintelligible, then hung up. Alex dropped her phone to her side. 30 minutes. Reg exhaled. Good. Bombay nudged Ms. Applebaum's slipper gently, then stepped back and leaned against Reg's leg. They stood still for a moment, listening to the faint hum of someone's blender and the distant thumping from the tree installation. Alex finally broke the silence. We have to tell Gary. Reg grimaced. Yeah. He's going to be devastated. How do we even start? Hi, Gary. Sorry. Your favorite neighbor died while you were fighting with a forklift under a Christmas tree? Alex shook her head. Let's not tell him until he's done with the tree. He'll drop something heavy on himself. That's not entirely untrue. Reg nodded. We definitely don't need 2 dead neighbors in 1 week. Crane arrived 30 minutes later, on the dot. Morning, he said, walking into the apartment. Reg shook his hand. Hey, Elliot. How's the dog? He's doing great. Elliot smiled. Honestly, it was the best decision ever. Kids now remember they have parents only when they get hungry. They're busy with Santa the rest of the day. I haven't had so much free time on my hands for a decade. I even started reading for pleasure again. Yup, that's their special skill right there, Reg said, smiling. You never know how a dog's gonna change your life. Crane nodded, then went straight to Ms. Applebaum, kneeling beside the chair. He didn't touch her at first. He merely observed, taking in small details, pausing now and then as if making notes. Then he slipped on gloves and took a tiny medical flashlight out of his bag. Alex watched him work. We think she passed sometime last night. It looks peaceful. Real peaceful, probably died in her sleep. Reg nodded. At least she made it to 90-something. Good long life. Crane hummed. It wasn't a positive, Alex and Reg exchanged a glance. Crane leaned closer, lifting Ms. Applebaum's chin slightly. Her life could have been longer. Alex blinked. Meaning? Crane touched the skin just above her upper lip, then gently turned her head to the side. Meaning she didn't die of old age. Reg stepped forward. What? Crane angled the flashlight so the light fell across her face. A faint, darkening shadow spread across her mouth and cheek. Alex's breath caught. Elliot? Is that bruising? Crane nodded. Someone smothered her. Reg swore under his breath. But how can you tell so fast? It's so faint. Crane shrugged. Normally it'd be tricky, but elderly patients bruise easily, especially if they're on blood thinners. The vessels break, pooling shows up fast. You see it more with pressure injuries and resuscitation attempts. But this, he gestured, this is the shape of a hand covering her mouth and nose. Reg stared at the bruise. Why would anyone smother a 90-year-old woman? Crane peeled off his gloves. I'll call Mendoza. That's a question for her. Why is the Horseman of Death parked in front of my building? Gary's voice floated in from the staircase. Reg closed his eyes. Oh no. Gary stepped inside, still wearing the hard hat with the reindeer antlers, now slightly crooked. He spotted Crane's bag on the floor and his face fell. Oh no, no. His voice cracked. Where is she? Alex moved quickly, taking him gently by the elbow. Gary, let's step outside. What happened? His voice had gone small. Polly pressed himself against his cheek, puffed up, whispering, No. Alex guided him to the landing. Reg followed, blocking the apartment from view. Gary? Alex said softly. I'm so sorry. He kept shaking it. No, I didn't hear her shuffle last night, but I thought she was asleep early or watching her crime dramas. She watches the ones on premium cable, even though they're too scary for her. I told her to switch to the British ones, but she said everyone on those shows whispers and she can't hear anything. She said... His breath hitched, and he pressed a fist to his mouth. Reg took him by the elbow and nudged to take a seat. I'm so sorry, Gary. I know you were close. Gary's eyes flooded. He shook his head violently. It's my fault. No, Alex said firmly. Yes, it is, Gary said, voice cracking. I was running around with the stupid tree and the stupid hard hat and the stupid fake snow. I wasn't home, I didn't check on her. I always check on her, Alex. His breath came out in a sob. Christmas is ruined. Alex touched his shoulder. Gary, listen to me. You cannot prevent something like this by staying home all the time. You know that. Gary wiped his nose with the back of his sleeve, looking miserable. I bought her an ugly sweater and a gingerbread house. We were going to watch Home Alone on the weekend. That's our annual thing. Reg patted his shoulder. You gave her more company than most people get at her age. You did right by her. Gary swallowed. Was it peaceful? Alex hesitated. Reg looked away. Gary looked up at them. Someone hurt her? His voice was barely audible. Alex sighed. We don't know the details yet. Crane saw something that made him call Mendoza. They'll figure it out. Gary pressed his palms to his eyes, shaking. She was such a good woman. Who would do that to her? Why? Alex pulled him into a hug. Polly leaned to his head. Love you, Gary. Smart bird, Reg said. Chapter 4. What's wrong with people? Mendoza marched into the apartment and put on single-use gloves. Who smothers an old lady a week before Christmas? Seriously, what the hell is wrong with the world? Crane didn't look up from the notes he was scribbling. Morning to you, too. Mendoza shot him a look. Don't start. What do we know? Crane straightened. She was smothered sometime last night. I'll narrow the window after the full exam. Bruising is consistent with pressure applied by a hand, likely while she was sitting. Mendoza pressed her palm to her forehead, muttering a bilingual slur. Unbelievable. She stepped toward the armchair, eyes moving quickly, cataloging as she went, stilled hands, throw blanket, the empty little red box. She leaned in. To Althea? She turned, scanning the room. Who's Althea? Gary's voice came from the doorway, thin and frayed. That was her name. He stood there clutching the doorframe, even though Alex asked him to stay downstairs. He looked like he'd run out of tears, but was still being chased by more. Polly peeked from behind his ear. Althea Applebaum, he said quietly. I called her Ms. A. Mendoza's expression softened instantly. Gary? I'm sorry for your loss. He nodded, swallowing. Polly rubbed his head against Gary's cheek with a soft murmur. Does she have any relatives we need to notify? Mendoza asked. Children? Grandchildren? Anyone overseas? Gary shook his head. No, she was never married. No kids. She told me once she had a brother who had died in the 70s. I was the only family she had. His voice cracked. Mendoza put a hand on Gary's arm. I'm very sorry for your loss, truly. But I need you to concentrate for a minute. Can you help me figure out who might have come by yesterday? Anyone? Gary sniffed, trying to pull himself together. I don't know. She didn't go out much, almost never, and no one visits her. People don't like spending time with the elderly unless they have to. Isn't that awful? Mendoza gave a small nod. It is, but if she didn't have relatives and she didn't socialize, who gave her a gift with her first name on it? I don't know. Gary looked helpless. Maybe it's just an old gift box? Mendoza took a second look. Looks new. Wrapped recently. Ribbon's not dusty. She got it yesterday or last night. Gary looked like he was about to crumble again. The delivery boys know to leave everything by the door because she's slow to open. They never come inside, and she never ordered anything fancy, magazines, books, Sudoku puzzles. He took a sharp breath, eyes filling again. I should have checked on her. I've been running around with decorations and glue guns and glitter and... Mendoza cut him off gently. Gary, stop. This isn't on you. He didn't seem convinced. Polly tucked himself tighter against Gary's neck. Gary sad, Polly sad. Mendoza sighed, squeezing his shoulder. Listen, I know you loved her, But you're not helping yourself staying in here. Go rest. Drink something. Sit down. I'll come talk to you when I have more. But no arguing. Mendoza's tone left no room for alternatives. I'll come see you when I'm done here. Reg nodded toward the hall. We've got her, Gary. Go breathe. Gary nodded, wiping his eyes with the heel of his hand. Okay. I'll be downstairs. Crane and his assistant wheeled the covered gurney out with quiet efficiency, murmuring a respectful goodbye as they passed Gary in the stairwell. Polly leaned forward and whispered a "Good night, Althea," as the coroner's van disappeared down the driveway. Mendoza shut the door and looked around her, sweeping her eyes across what could only be described as a classic old lady apartment, Caribbean edition, lace doilies under bright ceramic lamps, an old TV with foil twisted around the antenna, plants in mismatched pots. You two knew her better than I did, Mendoza said. Anything I should know before I start tearing this place apart? Red shook his head. We didn't know her that well. She was Gary's loud upstairs neighbor, that's all we knew. Alex nodded. We found out today that her first name was Althea. Mendoza gave a short, humorless snort. Great. Our victim is a mystery before she's even a case. She pulled out her phone and dialed. Lucian? I guess you already know. Lucian's voice crackled through. Yeah, terrible news. I need everything you can find on an Althea Applebaum. Start with immigration records, bank accounts, travel, whatever pops. Look for anything under a different spelling. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2 Ps. And get me some unis to process the scene. On it. Mendoza hung up and slipped the phone into her pocket. Okay, let's figure out who she was, besides being Gary's neighbor. Maybe we'll find some clues. Alex kneeled near the coffee table. Let's start with what she kept close. She reached under the table and pulled out a stack of old photo albums, heavy, thick, the kind with yellowing pages and cracked plastic covers. Reg whistled softly. She had a lot of memories. They sat together on the floral couch, covered in too many pillows and throw blankets for its small size. It protested with a small, elderly creak of its own, and Alex opened the first album. The first photo stopped all 3 of them. Young Ms. Applebaum stood center stage in a glittering gown, hair swept into perfect curls, eyes lined with the dramatic flair of professional opera makeup. The caption read, Vienna, 1951. Wow. She was beautiful, Alex said. Reg nodded. Explains why she was so loud. Mendoza cracked a reluctant smile. They flipped through images of young Althea in various costumes, Traviata, Tosca, Carmen, her expressions fierce, joyous, alive. The next album was older. Teenage Althea in a post-war volunteer uniform, hair tied back, sleeves rolled, a photograph of her handing out blankets, a group shot with musicians in a makeshift concert hall lit by lanterns. She lived a rich life, Alex said quietly. Complicated, too. Reg nodded. And we didn't know any of it. Mendoza sighed. Doesn't bring us any closer to her killer. Alex pulled out another album. This one was full of opera programs from around the world. Just look at that, she said. Vienna State Opera, Teatro Colón, Buenos Aires, she kept flipping the pages. Paris, Prague, London, New York, Santiago, Lima, Sao Paulo. She toured everywhere. People forget old people used to be young and lived lives like this, Reg said. Mendoza nodded. Most treat them like nuisance nowadays. Alex flipped the pages again. A loose photograph slid out. A young man stood in a sharp suit beside an ornate railing, smiling directly at whoever held the camera. Alex turned it over. The back read, Vienna, 1952, Emile. Reg leaned over her shoulder. She wasn't as lonely as we thought. Mendoza stood abruptly, dusting her hands off. All right, enough albums for one day. Let's see what we've got in the other rooms. Chapter 5. Mendoza paced the edge of the living room like a caged tigress. The quiet of Ms. Applebaum's apartment only made her more agitated. Lace doilies, framed needlework, mismatched china, crossword and Sudoku puzzle books everywhere. "This place smells like grandma perfume," she muttered, stopping beside a small ceramic angel, "and we didn't find anything useful at all." Reg leaned against the wall. "What did you expect it to smell like? A strip club?" Just as Mendoza opened her mouth for a comeback, her phone buzzed. She snatched it up and turned on the loudspeaker. "Lucian," she said, "tell me you have good news. Any news I can work with." Not sure this will be helpful," Lucian said. "I ran everything I could find on Althea Applebaum. Want the long version or the short one?" "Short," Mendoza said. "I'm standing in an antique store of sadness." Okay, she moved to San Malvino in 1984. Alone, no dependents, no one registered as an emergency contact. Reg nodded. "Matches what Gary said." "She had some savings," Lucian continued, "and a pension from Austria. That's how she lived. No debts, no local employment, no travel. And when I say no travel, I mean none. She didn't leave the island after she arrived. Not once." "Guess she was fed up with travel after years of touring," Alex said. "She bought the apartment in the late 90s when the compound was being built, paid outright." "All right, what else?" "Last part's strange," Lucian said. "Last year, she opened a Facebook account." Reg frowned. "What?" "There's no computer, no tablet or cell phone lying around." "That's the strange part," Lucien said. "There's no activity on it. No friends, no posts, one profile photo. But it exists." Mendoza rubbed the bridge of her nose. "Why would she open a Facebook account if she had no gadgets to actually use it?" "That's the question." Lucian hesitated. "One more thing you're not going to like." "I already don't like anything about this case," Mendoza said. "Try me." "The compound CCTV is off." Mendoza stared at the ceiling. "What do you mean, off?" "Like, off, no footage, power rerouted to the decorations probably, or management is cutting corners again." Reg covered his face with one hand. "Of course." Alex sighed. "Is that even legal?" "No," Mendoza said flatly, "but I guarantee no one will care until I find them, and I don't have the time for the paperwork." She sighed. "We don't have security footage. We don't have witnesses. We don't have a family. Zero clues. Fantastic." Bombay gave a soft, sympathetic woof. "I'll try asking around," Lucian said. "Maybe neighbors noticed something unusual." "Okay, do that. And keep me updated. I need anything you can find." "On it." She hung up without saying goodbye, walked to the window, and pressed her forehead against the cool glass for a moment. Alex stood and moved beside her. "It's only morning. We'll find something." "I don't have much hope," Mendoza muttered. Reg gave her a look. "Hey, we've solved worse." "We've solved different," Mendoza corrected. "This is a woman who lived alone and barely left her house. Whoever killed her didn't do it by chance, that's obvious. We have no suspects so far." She exhaled sharply, straightened, and walked to the door. "All right," she said. "Let's talk to Gary. Maybe he'll remember something I can use." They had barely made it out the apartment when they heard hurried steps coming up. Gary appeared on the landing, a little out of breath, a lot out of sorts, with Polly perched on his shoulder. Polly immediately squawked, "Problem! Big problem!" Gary shook his head. "Not now, Polly." Mendoza softened just a fraction. "Hey, you doing okay?" "No, I'm not." His eyes were still red from crying. "But I remembered something. I came back because I didn't want to forget." "Go ahead," Mendoza said gently. "Yesterday morning," Gary said, wringing his hands. "She asked me to call Nacho for 5 p.m. Mendoza blinked. "Who's Nacho?" "He's the cabbie for the old ladies." Mendoza looked confused. "Old ladies, specifically?" "Yeah," Gary said. "Helps them up and down the stairs, carries bags for them. A very nice guy. I think he used to be a luchador back in the day." "All right, where did he take her?" Mendoza asked. "I don't know," Gary said. "She didn't say." Mendoza fiddled with her sunglasses. "And she didn't have a phone?" "Nope. If she needed something, she would just yell from the balcony. I'm on the porch 90% of the time." Which brings us to our next question. Mendoza narrowed her eyes. Why did she have a Facebook account if she didn't have a phone? Gary blinked. Oh, that was me. You? Gary flushed pink. Yeah. One evening we were binging Friends. She got sentimental and said she wondered what happened to her friends, so I said we could try looking them up. I made her a Facebook page. That's actually very sweet, Alex said. It wasn't sweet, Gary sighed. It was just, she looked sad and lonely, so I thought maybe she could find someone from her past. He swallowed, but no names came up. At all, nothing. She got quiet and said maybe everyone is already dead, so she told me to delete it. I was going to, but I forgot. Reg patted him on the shoulder. You did more than most neighbors ever would. Gary's throat bobbed. I tried. Polly nuzzled Gary's cheek. Good, Gary. Good, Gary. Gary sniffed hard. So, Mendoza said, where would she normally go with a cab? Whenever she wanted a treat, she went to the marina, Gary said. There's a seafood restaurant she really liked. Mendoza nodded. Okay, that's helpful. Do you know the name? There's few of them. Nope, Gary said. You know how I'm bad with names. You're doing great, Mendoza said gently. Go home, take a break. Just text me the phone number of that nacho guy. I'll see where he took her. Gary nodded, then paused halfway down the stairs. Angela? Yeah? Please, don't let her story end like this. I promise I won't. Chapter 6. This nacho person said he'll be here in 10 minutes, Mendoza announced, putting the phone back into her pocket. Let's see if he can tell us where Ms. Applebaum went. How's Gary? Shannon asked, whipping sweat from her forehead. I ran down to the bakery and got him some breakfast. He couldn't stop crying, so we sent him home, Reg said. Nice of you to get him breakfast. Food will do him good. 10 minutes later, right on time, a minivan rolled into the compound parking lot. The color was statement blue, the color of bright summer sky times 1,000. It parked neatly, engine cutting off with a smooth purr. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a man who made everyone collectively inhale. Tall, broad in a way men in their 70s had no right to be. Long silver hair spread over the muscular shoulders, a carefully groomed mustache, and a bright blue bandana that matched the van. Mendoza blinked. Oh, wow. Shannon squinted dramatically. Is it hot in here, or am I having a medical emergency? Alex leaned toward Reg and whispered, If you look like that in your 70s, I'll die a happy woman. Reg didn't miss a beat. I thought you married me for my kind heart. Bombay stood up, tail wagging tentatively, unsure if this was a threat or a hero. The man approached them with surprising gentleness for someone built like a retired superhero. Good morning, he said, voice deep but warm. Ignacio Herrera, formerly known as El Titan Azul, but people call me Nacho these days. One very hot Nacho, Shannon whispered into Alex's ear. Stop staring and go get Gary his breakfast before it gets cold, Alex whispered back and pushed Shannon toward the unit. Mendoza stepped forward. Detective Mendoza, thank you for coming on such a short notice. Ma'am, he said respectfully, inclining his head. He looked at Alex, then Reg, then finally down at Bombay. Sir, he added to the dog. Bombay thumped his tail, deeply honored. Mendoza got straight to the point. You knew Ms. Applebaum? I know all the ladies of a certain age on this island, Ignacio said. They're my usual passengers. Mendoza narrowed her eyes. Unusual clientele for a taxi driver. He smiled softly. Yes, ma'am. By design. Why? If you don't mind me asking. Ignacio glanced at the bright sky, choosing his words with care. When men get old, people still notice them. When women get old, they become invisible to the rest of the world. He shrugged, muscles shifting like slow-moving boulders. I don't think that's how it's supposed to be, so I make sure someone pays attention, treats them well, helps them feel seen. Alex swallowed. That's actually really thoughtful. Great. Jacked and thoughtful. Do the rest of us even stand a chance? Reg whispered into Alex's ear. Since when are you so insecure, Mr. Airport Paperback? Alex nudged his ribs. Since 5 minutes ago, I guess. Reg grinned. Give me time to recover. Mendoza cleared her throat and gently guided Nacho away from all the marital nonsense to save face and question in peace. Mr. Herrera, we need to know where you took Ms. Applebaum yesterday. Her neighbor said she asked specifically for you. Yes, ma'am. Gary always calls for her. Such a good guy. He nodded. I took her to the Dancing Shrimp at the marina. Is she a regular there? I guess, Nacho said. I've been taking her there once a month or so for as long as she's been my client. Any specific reason? She said she liked the food and the view. Mendoza lifted her chin. Did she go alone? Normally, he said. Yes, she enjoyed sitting by herself, early dinners, watching the boats. I'd drop her off, then pick her up in 2 hours. But not this time, Mendoza said. No, ma'am. Ignacio's expression softened. This time, someone was waiting for her. Who was it? An older gentleman, Ignacio said. Her age. I saw him standing up when she walked in. So it was planned? Yes, Ignacio said. She was nervous. Kept asking me how she looked. 5 times during the 10-minute ride. Mendoza smiled faintly. That's almost sweet. Ignacio nodded. She wore a beautiful dress and lots of perfume. He paused, thoughtful. She wanted to make a good impression. What about the ride back? Mendoza asked. She was quiet, he said. Deep in thought, I think. I didn't ask questions. Nobody spoke for a moment. Then Mendoza pulled herself back to business. Thank you, Mr. Herrera. You've been extremely helpful. Bombay trotted over and nudged Ignacio's hand. Ignacio scratched behind his ears with surprising tenderness. Anytime, Ignacio said. If you need me, call. I'll come right away. We need more men like that on this island, Alex said, watching him walk away. Reg snorted. It's a very small island. We don't have room. Mendoza shook her head, already turning toward the walkway. All right, let's go to that seafood place. Someone there has to know who Ms. Applebaum met yesterday. Chapter 7. The marina was busy in that lazy, mid-afternoon way San Malvino specialized in, boats rocking gently beneath strings of Christmas lights that had clearly been up since last year, Feliz Navidad spilling from restaurant speakers, tourists wandering in sun hats 2 sizes too big, and locals who'd perfected the art of walking slowly enough to avoid being drafted into errands, favors, or holiday preparations. Reg, Alex, and Mendoza stepped onto the boardwalk, Bombay trotting beside them, nose twitching at the smell of grilled fish and fried garlic. There it is, Alex said, pointing toward a cheerful, slightly weather-worn restaurant with a big hand-painted sign, the Dancing Shrimp, the oldest seafood restaurant on the island. Reg rolled his eyes. A shrimp in a hat holding maracas? San Malvino design at its best. Mendoza pushed open the door. Come on. The sooner we talk to someone, the sooner we find who she was meeting. Inside, the place was bright and bustling, nets on the walls, framed photos of fishermen, and the same overdressed shrimp inn as a giant wooden statue with blue tinsel wrapped around its neck. The smell of frying seafood hit instantly. A smiling hostess approached. Welcome to the Dancing Shrimp, the oldest seafood restaurant on the island. I'm Lulu. Table for 3? Mendoza flashed her badge. Detective Mendoza, San Malvino Police. We're here about one of your longtime patrons, Althea Applebaum. Oh! The hostess's face lit up. Of course I remember her. Lovely woman. Elegant. Always sat by the window. She's been a loyal guest since we opened as far as I know. Alex nodded. We heard she visited recently. Yes, the hostess said. Yesterday. She glanced toward the back. Let me get the manager. They followed her to a small counter near the bar, where a tall man with an impressive beard was polishing silverware. Detective, he greeted Mendoza. I'm Ramon, the manager. You're asking about Ms. Applebaum? Yes, Mendoza said. We were told she came here for dinner and met with a gentleman. Ramon nodded immediately. She did. We don't get many elderly couples dining in together, so it stood out. Reg blinked. Couple? Ramon shrugged. Looked like it. Same age, dressed nicely. They talked for hours. They were definitely on a date. Lulu said, Miss Applebaum doesn't dress up like that when she comes alone. Alex exchanged a glance with Reg and Mendoza. Do you remember anything specific? They sat at table 7, Ramon said, pointing toward a spot near the windows overlooking the marina. Ordered the early dinner special. She always ordered the same thing, grilled snapper with rice. He had the seafood stew. They talked a long time. She looked very moved. Mendoza's jaw tightened in thought. Do you remember when they left? A little after 7, Ramon said. She walked out first. He paid the bill. Mendoza's eyebrow lifted. With a credit card, he confirmed. Can you check the name on the transaction? Ramon didn't hesitate. He motioned them behind the counter and pulled up the digital records on a small tablet. Scrolling, he found the date, then tapped the transaction. There, he said, turning the screen to them. A name sat clearly above the total. Emil Hartman. Mendoza wrote it down instantly. Alex exhaled softly. Emil. Probably the man from the photo. Reg looked back toward the window table. I wonder how he found her. Mendoza pulled out her phone and stepped toward the door for better reception. Lucien picked up on the second ring. Please tell me you have good news. I'm drowning in paperwork. End-of-year reports are killing me. I've got a name, Mendoza said. Emil Hartman. He should be on the island. All right, he said. Give me a minute. Actually, give me 5. I'll see what I can dig up. Make it quick, Mendoza said. This man was the last person to see Ms. Applebaum alive. Lucien paused. Understood. She hung up and stepped back inside. Alex was studying the table by the window, the soft light hitting the empty chairs in a way that felt almost too symbolic. She must have been so excited, Alex murmured, asking Nacho 5 times how she looked. Can you imagine? Reg said. Meeting after 70 years. Ramon glanced between them. Will this gentleman be easy to find? Mendoza slipped her phone back into her pocket. We're about to find out. Bombay looked at Ramon and sighed. The man understood the hint and handed a fish stick to the obviously starved K9. Reg shook his head and smiled. Will you ever stop begging? Now say thank you to the kind man. Bombay rolled his eyes and lifted a paw. Ramon shook it. Thank you, Alex told him. You've been very helpful. Anything for Miss Applebaum, he said softly. She was special. We really loved her here, Lulu said. Such a nice grandma. Too bad her dating life ended that way. They stepped back into the bright marina sun, the breeze lifting Alex's hair, the sea glittering like someone had spilled sequins across the horizon. Mendoza put on her sunglasses. I hope Emil Hartman is still on this island, she said. So far, he's our only clue. Chapter 8. Lucien called just as they walked toward the parking lot. Tell me you've got something. Mendoza put him on speaker. Oh, I've got a lot. Emil Hartman. Born 1932, Austrian. Lived in Austria most of his life. He's here with 2 sons, 3 grandkids, and a toddler great-grandchild. They're staying at the Villa Azul Resort. They arrived 10 days ago, leaving on the 26th. The Villa Azul, Reg muttered. Of course, I hate that place. Why would you hate it? Jolene had her wedding there. They had nothing to do with the murder, Alex said. Alex, I'm with Reg on this one. Their management is a disaster, Lucien said. Mendoza closed her eyes. Wonderful. If we end up needing the manager to actually manage something or some CCTV footage, we'll solve this case sometime next summer at best. Are we going or not? Alex asked, looking at both of them. We are, Mendoza sighed. It's not like we've got any other options. Goodbye, Lucien, she said, and hung up. The Villa Azul Resort appeared exactly as Reg remembered it, too posh, too squeaky, too bright. Now it had exploded into a tropical Christmas postcard, garlands on every railing, lights strangling every palm tree, an enormous Christmas tree with a 12-foot nutcracker. Bombay sniffed the nutcracker's boot with suspicion, sized him up, and kept closer to Reggie's leg. "Am I the only one who finds nutcrackers creepy?" Reg whispered into Alex's ear. "You and your dog," Alex smiled. "The rest think they are adorable." A young receptionist with a megawatt smile popped up immediately as they neared the reception desk. "Welcome to the Villa Azul. How may I assist? Oh?" Her smile didn't falter, but her eyebrows shot up when Mendoza lifted her badge. "No time for pleasantries," she said, irritated. "Herman family. I need to speak to them. Now." "Yes, ma'am, of course." The receptionist tapped rapidly. "They're on the 8-hour Christmas catamaran experience. They left at noon. They're due back around 8 this evening." 8 hours? Alex asked. "What do you even do on a boat for 8 hours?" "Argue about sunscreen," Reg said. The receptionist leaned forward conspiratorially. "The catamaran has an open bar." "Ah," Reg nodded. "That explains everything." Mendoza rested her palms on the counter. "Do not tell the family that the police was asking for them, under no circumstance." The receptionist nodded vigorously. "Absolutely, detective. I understand." Mendoza turned to Alex and Reg. "All right, since we're already here, let's talk to the staff. Get impressions. Anything helps." Alex smiled at the receptionist. "Thank you. And if your manager appears and asks what we're doing..." The woman answered instantly. "I saw nothing. You were never here." Mendoza blinked. "I like her." The bellboy was about 19, sweaty, and looked like he was done with this job. "Oh, the Hartmans?" he said, panting as he set a suitcase upright. "Big family, too big. They travel like a marching band." "You like them?" Reg asked. The kid made a conflicted face. "I try to. They're not bad people, you know. Just a lot. The great-grandkid throws things. Shoes, fruit. Wants a fork. Cute kid. If you're wearing a helmet." Mendoza scribbled. "And the grandfather?" Alex asked. "Oh, he's quiet, really quiet, walks slow, dresses nice like old movies." The bellboy gestured vaguely. "He seems sad. Stares at the ocean a lot. Sometimes smiles when the baby waves at him. That part's cute." "Any complaints?" Mendoza asked. "No, not really. They're pretty chill." "Thank you," Mendoza said. The housekeeper was in her 50s, warm-faced, folding towels with the precision of a woman who wielded hospitality like a martial art. "Oh, I love that family," she said, clasping her hands. "So polite, so tidy. They leave thank you notes and good tips. Nobody does that anymore." Reg whispered, "Did the bellboy hallucinate?" Alex elbowed him lightly. "And the grandfather?" Mendoza asked. "He's adorable," she said. "Old-school gentleman. Opens doors for me even though I tell him he doesn't need to. He smells like aftershave from the 50s. You know, the fancy kind." "Anything unusual about them?" Mendoza asked cautiously. "Not really." She tilted her head. "Just a big family that argues too much." Mendoza gave Alex a look. "What do they argue about?" "I have no idea. They only speak German between themselves." The dining room server looked deeply exhausted. "Oh, the Hartmans," he said, rubbing his temples. "They eat in waves. First they come all together, early, like 5 p.m. early. Then the younger ones come again around 10. "Do they tip well?" Reg asked. The server shrugged. "Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Depends on who pays. The sons are okay. The grandkids forget half the time. But they're not rude." Mendoza nodded. "Any arguments? Anything tense?" He shook his head. "They're mellow, boring even. Which I appreciate because last week we had influencers who sent everything back. It was a nightmare." A woman in a bright polo shirt and the emotional intensity of a golden retriever, probably from entertainment, bounced up as soon as she spotted Bombay. "Oh my God, a dog! Is he staying here? Does he need a floaty? We have dog floaties!" Bombay wagged. Alex smiled apologetically. "We're asking about the Hartman family," Mendoza said. "Oh, lovely family. Huge. Tons of big family energy, you know. One of the sons tried paddleboarding and fell off immediately. The grandkids made fun of him for an hour, but in a loving way. Any drama? Reg asked. She thought, one of the sons got competitive during beach volleyball and sulked. The toddler is spirited, like way too spirited for his age. And the grandfather? Alex asked. She softened. Oh, he's sweet. Asked me about sunset times. Took photos of the view. He moves very slowly, but he smiles at everything. I think he really likes it here. The last interview was an older concierge polishing the desk bell with unnecessary intensity. The old gentleman asked for a gift box, he said casually. The day before yesterday, I think. We didn't have any. I told him to check in the shops. Mendoza's attention sharpened instantly. Did he mention what the gift was? Mendoza asked. He didn't, the concierge said, but he needed it pretty bad. Got disappointed when I couldn't help, and he came alone, without the family. Mendoza closed her notebook slowly. Thank you, she said. All right. What did we learn? Mendoza asked as they walked toward the exit. Reg counted on his fingers. 1, the family either tips too much or not at all depending on who you ask. 2, the toddler is a menace to society. 3, the grandfather is universally beloved. Alex added, and 4, someone at the resort gave him a gift box. Mendoza sat back. Which means he definitely brought a gift to that dinner with Althea. Alex glanced at her. What do you think it was? I have no idea, Mendoza said, but we'll find out soon enough. I'll interview them first thing in the morning. Chapter 9. Where's Gary? Mendoza asked the moment they stepped back into the Isla Lirio compound. The giant Christmas tree towered over the dried-out fountain like a festive monolith, and halfway up a ladder, Shannon was hanging a wind chime shaped like an octopus. Lucian stood below, holding the ladder, contemplating every life choice that led him here. Shannon glanced down. Home. Sulking, Lucian added. He said he lost all his Christmas joy after Ms. Applebaum's death. Mendoza looked at Alex. Let's go get him. They crossed the courtyard, Bombay stopping once to sniff a bag of tinsel someone had abandoned on a bench. Gary's garden gate was slightly ajar, the porch lights still off, even though the sun was dropping. Gary sat on the porch, hunched forward, elbows on knees, staring at an old photo he held with both hands. Bombay trotted over and rested his chin on Gary's knee. Alex approached and sat next to him. Hey. He blinked but didn't look up. This is from 10 years ago. Our first Christmas photo together. He handed the picture to Alex. Gary and Ms. Applebaum standing in front of a modest tabletop tree, both wearing Santa hats at odd angles. She looked amused. Gary looked close to ecstatic. Alex smiled softly. You two look happy. It was the first year at Isla Lirio I was still renting, Gary said. She kind of adopted me. He swallowed thickly. I miss her. Polly leaned against Gary's head. I miss Althea. Alex nudged him lightly. Would she approve of you letting those two decorate the Christmas tree you wanted so bad, while you hide in the dark? Gary finally glanced toward the fountain, where Shannon swayed on the ladder like a deranged sugar plum fairy, and Lucian tried to direct her with the seriousness of an air traffic controller. He sighed. Probably not. She was probably thrilled you finally got a real tree, Alex added. Gary rubbed his face. She was. She'd kill me if I let them mess it up. Mendoza stepped forward. Then get up. Gary blinked. What? You heard me, she said. We're decorating the tree. Then we'll tell you what we found out. You? Gary stared at her, confused. Angela, are you seriously going to decorate a Christmas tree with us? Mendoza crossed her arms. I will, if you stop sulking. Polly puffed up and screamed, Christmas miracle! That did it. Gary laughed. He stood up, wiped his eyes, and grabbed his hard hat with antlers. All right, let's go show them how it's really done. Back at the fountain, the scene had only become more absurd. Lucian had replaced Shannon on the ladder, holding a giant star she made from driftwood and painted into all possible shades of red, pink, and orange. Shannon was unwrapping a string of lantern-shaped lights, but it looked like she tangled them up even more. "There he is!" Shannon cheered. "The decoration commander has arrived." Gary puffed up immediately. "Step away from the fragile ornaments." "Which ones are fragile?" Shannon asked. "All of them," Gary said, horrified. Mendoza sighed. "This is going to be a long night." Alex smiled. "It'll be good for him." Bombay sighed and plopped to the ground. Gary took charge like a general reclaiming his battalion. "All right. The seashells go at eye level. The wind chimes go higher so they don't hit people in the face. The coconuts—" "Coconuts?" Mendoza said sharply. Shannon held up a palm-sized coconut hand-painted to look like a snowman. "They're festive." Mendoza looked at Reg. Reg looked back with the expression of someone silently whispering, "Don't start this." Gary continued, "Okay, while we fix this disaster, tell me everything. What did you find out?" Mendoza slipped an ornament into his hand, a silver starfish with too much glitter. Nacho took Althea to a restaurant called the Dancing Shrimp. Reg nodded. She wasn't eating alone that night. She was meeting someone. Gary froze mid-starfish placement. Meeting who? "Emile," Alex said, "the man from the photo in one of her albums." Gary blinked. "Oh," he whispered. Then again, softer. "Oh, she showed me that picture once in passing when we were looking at all the opera costumes she wore. She said he was her first love. I thought she was being dramatic." "Apparently not," Reg said. Gary put a hand over his heart in the most theatrical gesture he'd ever produced. "She was out there having a secret island romance?" Alex smiled. Not much of a secret. They talked for 2 hours. Gary's face crumpled in the complicated way of someone feeling grief and joy at the same time. Good for her. Good. She deserved a moment like that. Lucian sniffed loudly and immediately pretended he was just choking on tinsel. Shannon patted his back. "So then," Gary said, trying to compose himself, "after the restaurant?" "We went to Emile's resort to ask about him," Mendoza said, "but his whole family was out at sea." "Big clan," Reg added. "Grandkids, great-grandkids, the works." "And the only thing we got from the staff," Alex continued, "was that Emile asked around for a gift box." Gary frowned. "Okay, so the gift was from him. But what was it?" "We don't know yet," Mendoza said. "Something small enough for a little box." Shannon dropped the tangled string of lights. "Like a bracelet? A necklace?" "The Koh-i-Noor!" Mendoza rolled her eyes at her. "Unless he is a British royal, which he is not." "Maybe a ring?" Reg asked simply. Gary's breath hitched. "A ring! He proposed." "We don't know that yet, Gary," Alex said. "But most probably it was some piece of jewelry. The box wouldn't fit anything bigger than that." Gary sank onto the edge of the fountain. Holy Christmas chaos, she really had a whirlwind romance. Bombay placed his chin on Gary's knee, as if agreeing. Mendoza folded her arms. If she was given a valuable item, someone could have killed her for it. Lucian looked unsettled. "You think the gift is the reason?" "It's the only clue we have," Mendoza said. Shannon's eyes widened. "Okay, but pause. The woman was 90-something. Why would anyone assume she had something expensive? Why would anyone even know she got a gift?" Mendoza pointed at her. "Exactly the question." Reg hung a painted coconut on a fir branch. Someone must have seen the exchange, or saw her with a box. Gary shifted uncomfortably. "She didn't tell me about the gift, not a word, so whoever saw it, it wasn't a neighbor." Lucian cleared his throat. "And Nacho didn't seem to see the gift either. He said she was quiet on the ride back, lost in thought." "So that leaves—" Shannon spun slowly, pointing the tangled lights extravagantly around the group like a detective in a musical. "The hotel staff, or the Dancing Shrimp staff, or Emile's evil, murderous children. Evil, murderous children. Reg raised a brow. What? It's a thing, Shannon insisted. Mendoza didn't dignify that. Look, all of this is just speculation. The gift could have been something completely sentimental, symbolic, and of zero value for anyone other than the two of them. We just assume it was jewelry. Gary looked up at the giant half-decorated tree, which was surprisingly coming together. Okay, so we find what was in the box, and find who knew she had it. That's the plan, Mendoza said. They all stared at the tree for a moment, the lantern lights flickering, the seashells clinking softly, the wind chimes echoing a warm metallic hum. For the first time that evening, Gary exhaled fully. Then he clapped his hands together. All right, enough doom. Someone get me a taller ladder. I want more tinsel on top. Mendoza pinched the bridge of her nose. Why do I investigate murders with you people? Polly screeched from Gary's shoulder. Because we're fun! Chapter 10. By the time Mendoza reached the resort, the place was already humming. Breakfast trays clattered, kids shrieked somewhere near the pool, and a soft instrumental cover of Jingle Bell Rock floated out of hidden speakers. She spotted the family immediately. 3 tables pushed together, plates of fruit, pastries, and eggs disappearing at a speed that suggested someone was paying for the all-inclusive package. 2 sons in their 60s, daughters-in-law, a handful of grown grandkids, and 1 toddler with a face covered in chocolate. Emile sat at the head of the table, silver hair neatly combed, wearing a light blue shirt that made him look younger. He was buttering a roll with slow precision, peaceful, completely unaware. Mendoza hated this part. Mr. Hartman? The entire table went quiet. He looked up. Yes? I'm Detective Mendoza with the San Malvino Police Department. May I speak with you privately for a moment? Murmurs rose immediately. A granddaughter's fork froze mid-air. The toddler smeared his chocolate-covered hands on his father's shirt. Emile blinked, then nodded. Of course. He stood carefully and followed Mendoza to a quieter terrace overlooking the ocean. A server walked by with a tray of mimosas. Emile waved him off gently and sat down. Mendoza took the seat across from him. Mr. Hartman, 2 days ago, you met with Althea Applebaum at the Dancing Shrimp, haven't you? He nodded. I did. Is she all right? Mendoza softened her voice. Mr. Hartman, I'm very sorry. She was found dead yesterday morning. He closed his eyes. Was it peaceful? She hesitated. He opened his eyes. Please, I want to know. She didn't pass from natural causes. We're investigating. His whole face collapsed. After all these years, he whispered, after everything we survived, for it to end like this? They sat in silence for a moment, the muffled clatter of vacationers carrying on behind them. Mendoza leaned forward. I understand you were old friends. How did you reconnect? I found her on Facebook last year. Don't ask me how, I'm useless with technology, but her name appeared in that People You May Know part. It felt like a sign. But as far as I know, she never actually used that page. I wrote her a letter, a regular one. Her profile showed that she lived in the Isla Lirio compound, San Malvino. A faint smile tugged at his mouth. I didn't have the apartment number, but I figured, how many Althea Applebaums could there be in a single compound? She wrote me back a month later. And you arranged to meet here? I convinced my sons to bring the whole family to San Malvino for Christmas. We do a trip every year anyway. His eyes warmed. She was still beautiful, different, but beautiful, and sharp as ever. Mendoza asked gently, Did you bring her a gift? He nodded. A ring. I bought it 70-odd years ago. Emeralds. She loved emeralds. I meant to propose before she left on tour, but she told me she would be traveling for a year, maybe more. I lost my courage. He rubbed his face. I thought, at least she should have it, even if it was only as a memory of the good times we had. Did she wear it? No, she thought it would be inappropriate, since I bought it all those years ago with a certain intention. She looked at it and then... But the box in her handbag. Mendoza hesitated. Mr. Hartman, when we found her, the box was empty. Empty? She couldn't have lost it, could she? We suspect that whoever murdered her knew she had a valuable gift. A long minute passed. Then he pushed up from the chair. I need to tell my family. Do you want me? No, they'll hear it better from me. Mendoza followed him back to the table. The family looked up as they approached. Emil cleared his throat. His sons instantly straightened. There's been news, he said. Althea is gone. Shock rippled through the group. The daughters-in-law covered their mouths. A granddaughter whispered, "Oh no!" The toddler slapped his pancake and shouted, "Boom!" She didn't die naturally, Emil continued. Detective Mendoza here is investigating. One son put a steadying hand on his father's shoulder. Emil squeezed it, then stepped away. I need a moment. His voice cracked. Please help the detective with anything she asks. He left. It was the quietest the breakfast area had been all morning. Mendoza sat down at far side of the table. The family instinctively drew in around her. The older son cleared his throat. Please, tell us what you need. Mendoza nodded. I need to understand your father's meeting with Ms. Applebaum. Anything unusual you noticed before or after? One of the daughters-in-law spoke first, hands still wrapped around her mug. He was glowing when he came back, honestly glowing. We haven't seen him that happy since my mother-in-law was alive. Did you all know about the ring he gave to Ms. Applebaum? We did, the younger son leaned in. Detective, we need you to understand something. Dad is old, very old. The end is, well, not far off. He shrugged gently. If he wanted to give something to the woman he loved before Mom, if that made him happy, none of us would have stopped him. The older son nodded. It was his ring, his story. We're not that kind of family. Mendoza watched their faces. No tension, no bitterness, no hint of greed, just sadness. A daughter-in-law piped up suddenly. Oh, there was one thing, probably nothing, but... She hesitated. One of the housekeepers commented on our jewelry the other day. How so? She said it was beautiful, twice. The second time she lingered a bit. It wasn't rude, but it stood out. The granddaughter agreed. Yeah, I heard her too. The way she said it was a little weird, like she wanted details or something. Mendoza tucked it away. Do you remember which housekeeper it was? They gave a description. Did your father mention anything about the box he used for the ring? Oh. The younger son brightened, then dimmed again. He asked the concierge for a small gift box, but they didn't have one. I took him to the jewelry store here in the hotel, and we got one from there. So the concierge and the cashier at the jewelry store knew he was giving someone a gift. Yes, but I doubt they knew what it was. They could suspect it was jewelry. Mendoza made a mental note to confirm that anyway. Another granddaughter, the one with a tight ponytail and a pair of sunglasses perched on her head, leaned forward. Do you think someone followed him from the hotel? I don't know yet, Mendoza said, but someone besides Ms. Applebaum and your grandfather knew there was something valuable in that box. The table fell quiet. The toddler suddenly slammed his cup and yelled, Nana, which made half the family jump. Mendoza allowed a small smile. Thank you. All of this helps. If you happen to have a picture of that ring, please send it to me. She left her business card on the table and left. Chapter 11. The Isla Lirio courtyard looked like a Christmas card designed by someone who had only ever heard rumors about snow. The enormous fir tree in the old fountain was fully decorated. Seashell garlands, blown glass ornaments, painted coconuts, fairy lights wrapped all the way to the top, and at least 4 wind chimes that had no business being there. A mountain of secret Santa gifts sat underneath, each with a resident's name in Gary's handwriting. Curly, slanted, dramatic. Mendoza parked the cruiser and barely turned off the engine when Gary came sprinting across the courtyard like someone had pressed fast forward on him. So? He demanded, sliding to a stop. Tell me, the entire family is a murder cult? Did the baby do it? You arrested them all, right? Mendoza closed the car door very slowly. Gary, they're wholesome. Calm down. He blinked at her. Wholesome? A big, wholesome family? That never happens. They tricked you. Alex, Reg, Shannon, Lucian, and Bombay had all gathered under the giant tree, drawn by the commotion. Polly sat on a branch above them, swaying like a festive gargoyle. Mendoza walked over. "All right, here's what we know." Everyone leaned in together like a badly coordinated choir. She told them about Emil, about Althea, about the ring. "Ha! I knew it," Reg said triumphantly. "It had to be a ring. Men never buy any other type of jewelry if they are not nudged to it." "He kept it for 70 years and didn't give it to the next woman he dated?" Shannon gasped. "That's kind of romantic." "Some men are classy that way," Lucian gave her a look. "To receive a gift meant for you 70 years ago, that's its own kind of miracle," Alex said. "Being murdered for it the same day?" Reg sighed. "Not so much." "Exactly," Mendoza said. "It wasn't random." Gary covered his face. "Poor Ms. Applebaum. Oh, she was so excited for Christmas this year. She made me decorate her balcony twice because the first version lacked whimsy. And she never asks for anything." Alex squeezed his arm. "We'll figure this out. So, we need to figure out who knew Althea had the ring," Reg said. "That's our suspect pool." Mendoza sat on the fountain rim and started folding her fingers. "Emil, his whole family, maybe someone at the hotel, probably someone at the Dancing Shrimp." Lucian looked up from his tablet. "Emil's family wouldn't care about a single ring. I ran a quick check. They're all comfortably upper middle class. His sons have a construction firm." Shannon scoffed. "Wholesome families murder people all the time. Have you ever watched television?" Mendoza lifted a hand. "Focus. If not family, and obviously not Emil, then who?" Reg crossed his arms. "That leaves the hotel staff, or the Dancing Shrimp staff, someone who saw the ring in that box." Alex tilted her head thoughtfully. If she put it straight into her handbag, whoever saw it had only seconds, which means it wasn't someone lingering at her table. It had to be someone delivering food or watching closely. Gary's eyes went wide. "Wait, do we even know if she wore it home?" Mendoza shook her head. "She didn't. Emil said she felt it would be inappropriate. She kept the box in her purse." Shannon pointed at Mendoza. "Call him, ask if he showed the ring to anyone else." Emil answered on the second ring, his voice tired but polite. "Detective Mendoza?" "Sir, sorry to bother you again. I only have a few quick questions." "Of course." "Did you show the ring to anyone besides Ms. Applebaum and your family, the concierge, the salesperson in the jewelry store?" "No, I didn't. I already had the jewelry box. I only needed a gift box of the right size." "And the restaurant staff?" Mendoza asked. "Could anyone have seen it there?" "Yes, possibly. When she opened it, she wasn't discreet about her excitement." "Thank you, Mr. Hartman. This helps a lot." She hung up and looked up from her phone. "Let's check the apartment again." The moment Mendoza opened the door, Shannon wrinkled her nose. "Why does it smell like so bad in here? Was it like this the first time?" Mendoza growled. "If the uniformed officers left trash at the crime scene again, I swear—" Alex checked the bin. "It's empty." Reg sniffed the air. "This is something new going bad." Bombay sniffed the air, walked right past them and plopped near the armchair. Mendoza hurried over. "Bombay, what have you got?" He gave a side-eye to one of the blankets, as if saying, "Detective, look here." A neatly folded Dancing Shrimp takeout bag sat underneath, still sealed. "How in the world did we miss this?" Mendoza asked. "We sat looking at pictures right here." "There are so many pillows and blankets everywhere that no one actually bothered to lift all of them," Alex said. "Why would she order from the same restaurant she's been to?" Shannon asked. "She didn't," Gary said. "If she wanted to order something, she would call me." "Maybe she didn't finish her dinner and got a doggy bag," Lucian suggested. "That's easy enough to find out." Mendoza picked up the phone. "Mr. Herrera? Nacho? Hi, yes, it's Detective Mendoza. I have a small question. Did Miss Applebaum bring a doggy bag with her from the restaurant? No? Thank you so much." The room went silent. Gary whispered, "Oh, no." This is how the killer got in. Fake food delivery. Reg frowned. Alex's expression darkened. They just knocked and waited for her to open the door. Poor Althea, Gary sighed. Lucian exhaled. It was a cover, a fake delivery. No one questions a food delivery. Mendoza straightened, holding the bag by its rolled top. This was a very impulsive job. Whoever came here didn't even bother to get rid of the evidence properly. Someone young and emotional, Alex said, nodding, who probably haven't read a single murder mystery in their lives. Polly perched up on Gary's shoulder. Rookie mistake. Chapter 12. By the time they pulled into the parking lot of the Dancing Shrimp, the lunch crowd had thinned. Mendoza pushed open the door and flashed her badge. "Where's Lulu?" Ramon looked up from behind the bar. She's not here." Mendoza stared. Not here as in late, or not here as in vanished off the face of the island? He swallowed. She didn't show up for work, and she's not answering her phone. "Convenient," Reg muttered. Mendoza exhaled through her nose. "Fantastic. She's not as dumb as we thought." "Is she, should we be worried?" Ramon asked, looking concerned. Mendoza ignored the question and pointed toward the kitchen. "Anyone else missing?" "No, everyone else clocked in normally." He paused. "But she seemed stressed all week. I thought it was just Christmas rush." Mendoza turned back to the group, lowering her voice. "She panicked. She saw us yesterday, realized we were digging into Althea's last hours, and decided to move fast." "You think she's running?" Alex frowned. "With a ring that costs a few thousand, that's the only smart thing to do." Mendoza pulled her phone out. "Time to call Carlos." She stepped a few feet away and dialed. The call connected on the second ring. "Angela, what a surprise," Carlos answered, already sounding suspicious. "Did someone kill somebody in by bar and I missed it somehow?" "It's not Mamacita's, relax," she cut in. "I need to know which pawn shop on this island would take a ring worth a few $1,000s and won't ask too many questions." "Our dollars or the green ones?" "Green ones. Few thousand of ours is a pocket change." "Okay, that narrows it to one." Carlos lowered his voice. "Rosa's Pawn and Loan, corner of Calle Verde. But listen carefully. Don't wave your badge around there. She won't take any of that. Just go in, be polite, and tell her Mamacita sent you." "Thanks, Carlos," Mendoza said flatly. "I know I can always rely on you with anything shady." "Apparently that's my brand," he said, and ended the call. Reg gave her a look. "You're sure she didn't already sell the ring and hop off the island?" "That's the next thing to check." Mendoza dialed again, this time Lucian. He picked up immediately. "Hey, boss." "We have a runner," she said. "I need you to contact the Coast Guard and ask them to hold all outbound ferries for at least an hour. And I need you personally to check for tickets bought under the name Lulu Santos." Lucienne groaned. "I think I pulled all the favors I had. What if they refuse?" "Tell them whatever you want," Mendoza said. "Compliment, threaten, bribe. Just get it done." Another groan. "Copy that." "Why ferries? Why not the airport?" Reg asked. "Too expensive," Mendoza said. "It was a decent emerald ring, not the Cullinan." Rosa's Pawn and Loan looked exactly like a place Carlos would send someone not to wave a badge around in. Bars on the windows, a sun-faded sign, a bell over the door that sounded like someone dropping a fork into a tin can. Inside, the shop smelled like old leather and metal polish. A large woman with sharp eyes stood behind the counter, polishing a silver candlestick with the seriousness of someone preparing it for combat. She watched the group step inside, narrowing her eyes as her gaze passed over Mendoza's holster under her jacket. Reg cleared his throat, adjusting the Texan drawl. "Afternoon, ma'am," he said. The woman kept polishing without an answer. Reg took out his phone and opened the photo of the ring. "I'm looking for a ring. My girlfriend ran off with it." Mendoza's right eyebrow twitched. Alex pressed her lips together to keep from smiling. The woman finally set the candlestick down. "Why should I care?" "Because," Reg said smoothly, "it's an heirloom, my grandmother's. I will pay any kind of money for it." Rosa glanced at the picture, then glanced at Alex and Mendoza, then back at Reg. "And who are those two?" she asked, pointing a stubby finger at the women behind him. "My sisters," Reg said without missing a beat, worried for the stolen heirloom. Rosa squinted. "They look nothing like you." "Same mother, different dads," Reg deadpanned. Alex coughed hard. Mendoza tried not to roll her eyes too hard. Rosa stared another second, weighing it, then shrugged like she'd seen weirder families. "I don't give out customer information, especially not to jealous boyfriends. You go off and kill her, and then it's Rosa's fault." Reg was about to respond when Mendoza stepped forward and said very tightly, "Mamacita sent us." Rosa froze. "You should have led with that," she said, instantly warmer. She waved them closer. Come here. Don't hover in the doorway like criminals." Reg threw Mendoza a look that said, "Was that so hard?" But she ignored him. Rosa reached under the counter, pulled out a small locked drawer, unlocked it, and took out a slip of paperwork. "The girl brought it in first thing this morning," she said, in a hurry. "Barely let me examine the piece, kept tapping her foot, asked me twice if I knew where to buy ferry tickets." "Ferry tickets to where?" Mendoza asked, even though she already felt the answer forming like a headache. "Haiti," Rosa said. "She wanted the earliest one." Alex exhaled. "So she pawned the ring, then went straight to the port." Rosa slid the paperwork back into the drawer. Didn't even haggle, just took the cash and ran. "Not my business, but that girl's in trouble." "Thank you. Have you still got the ring?" Rosa nodded. "Please hold on to it for a day." She stepped back and dialed Lucien. He picked up before the first ring finished. "Haiti," Mendoza said. "Haiti!" Lucien yelled at the same time. In the background, something metallic crashed. "Sorry, I dropped my coffee." "Yes, Haiti. I found the ticket purchased under Lulu Santos. The Coast Guard already flagged the passenger list." "And?" "They've got her," Lucien said, breathless and triumphant. "Pulled her off the ferry 10 minutes ago. She's in custody." Mendoza closed her eyes for a moment, relieved. "We're heading to the port." "Copy. I'll meet you there." Chapter 13. The port was chaos in its most festive form. Strings of lights had been wrapped around bollards and railings. A steel drum version of Jingle Bells drifted in from somewhere above. Ferry horns blasted, long and irritated, people with suitcases scattered around. Mendoza stepped out of the cruiser just as 2 Coast Guard officers escorted Lulu down the ramp. She looked smaller than she had behind the Dancing Shrimp hostess stand. No makeup, hair pulled back too tight, her eyes flicked around the port, darting, calculating, still looking for exits. One of the officers gave Mendoza a tired grin. "Detective, we respect the hell out of you and Lucien for everything you do for this island." "Appreciated," Mendoza said. "But," he continued, lowering his voice, "don't you think inviting us for a round or 2 of drinks is long overdue?" Mendoza gave them her most genuine smile. "If you have nothing to do on Christmas Eve, come to Isla Lirio." The second officer blinked. "Seriously? A retiree compound?" "You'll get the best drinks you've ever had." Mendoza winked at him. They exchanged a look, then nodded. "Deal." Reg leaned toward Alex. "They have no idea what they've agreed to." Alex smiled. "They probably don't expect us to be retirees." The only interrogation room at the San Malvino police station smelled of pine trees and gingerbread. Even though Mendoza protested, the uniformed officers decorated it. Lulu sat across from Mendoza, hands folded tightly on the metal table that now had a pine cone centerpiece. Mendoza dropped a folder in front of her. "We found your fingerprints," she said calmly, "on the gift box, on the Dancing Shrimp takeout bag, and on the throw blanket." Lulu flinched. "Don't bother denying it," Mendoza continued. "You're cooked." Silence stretched. Then Lulu laughed, sharp, humorless. "So that's it?" "That's it." Lulu leaned back in her chair. "You know what I don't understand?" Mendoza raised an eyebrow. "I'm sure you're going to tell me." "Why should a woman who's practically dead already get her big romantic moment?" Lulu snapped. "A ring, a dinner, A story people cry over, while girls like me get nothing for Christmas, tips from men who don't even look at us. Mendoza let her speak. She didn't even put the ring on, Lulu said, frustrated. She just shoved it in her bag like it was nothing, like it didn't matter. It mattered, Mendoza said quietly. Lulu scoffed. To who? Their lives are almost over. Mine is just beginning. I deserve a head start. Mendoza leaned forward, hands flat on the table. You're young, she said evenly, but you're not smart. Lulu's eyes flashed. Excuse me? You do not have half the brains to realize why she didn't put the ring on, Mendoza continued. She was being respectful. Lulu frowned, confused despite herself. Respectful to who? Emil's late wife. Lulu swallowed. That ring waited 70 years to reach her, Mendoza said. 70. That's almost 4 lifetimes of yours. Lulu slammed her hands on the table. I don't care. She didn't deserve it. She didn't deserve to die either, Mendoza shot back. But here we are. Lulu's shoulders sagged. I thought, if I took it, maybe something good would finally happen to me. Mendoza stood. Something did happen. She opened the door. Your life will continue in jail, and when you get out, you'll be maybe a bit younger than Miss Applebaum was when she died. Lulu looked up, eyes wide. Mendoza turned to the uniformed officers waiting outside. Take her away. I'm late for a Christmas party. Chapter 14. Angela. Mendoza barely made it past the edge of the plaza before Gary came barreling toward her, reindeer antlers bouncing on his headband. You cannot arrest anyone tonight, he said immediately. I don't care what they did. Mendoza took in the scene behind him. Why is there so much light everywhere? String lights were on sale, Shannon yelled from a ladder. We pitched in and bought what was left. Jimmy built a bar from orange crates. Lucian motioned toward the makeshift bar. I hope it doesn't collapse. Not my first rodeo, kid, Jimmy called back. Drink? Mendoza squinted at the glass being waved in her direction. Why is it glowing? Nothing illegal, detective, don't worry, Jimmy winked. Just mixology at its best. Mendoza took the cocktail. Before she could take a sip, Gary grabbed her sleeve. So? So what? So, he hissed. Is she gone? She's gone, Mendoza said. Shipped her off to Legoland. Now she's Warden Patino's problem. Reg snorted. The man has more than enough of those on his plate. Gary swallowed. Why did she do it? Mendoza met his eyes. Because some people think they are entitled to decide who deserves what. Behind them, a cheer went up. Lucian appeared holding a huge box. Carlos sent cookies. Shannon lunged. Yum, give me one. Lucian opened the lid. Gingerbread men stared back, iced in bikinis, boas, and sunglasses. Mendoza closed her eyes. I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. They're delicious, Shannon said with her mouth full. Okay, he clapped. Secret Santa time before everyone gets too jolly and drunk. Polly puffed up on his shoulder. Gifting time, losers. All right, Gary announced, climbing on the fountain rim. Rules. I read the name out loud. You come and get your gift. And no snarky commentary, people. Be nice. Absolutely not, Shannon said. I live for commentary. Gary ignored her and reached under the tree. Reginald Wyatt O'Malley III. Of course you used my full name. Reggie sighed. I custom-made pretty name tags for all of you. Gary shoved a brown paper-wrapped bundle into his hands. Open it. Reg peeled the paper back carefully and froze. Alex leaned closer. Is it bad? Reg turned the paper around. It was a pencil drawing of Bombay sitting on their porch. Shannon rocked on her heels. I didn't know what to get you. Reg looked at it for another long beat. This is very good. Shannon blinked. That's it? Reg rolled the paper back up with care. Thank you, Shannon. I'm definitely framing it. Bombay wagged his tail in agreement. Gary sucked in a breath. Okay, wow, we're starting strong. He grabbed the next envelope. Detective Angela Pilar Mendoza of San Malvino Police. Did you know her middle name is Pilar? Alex whispered to Reg. I'm not even sure I knew her first name was Angela when she arrived, he whispered back. In my head, she was just Mendoza, at least for a couple of weeks. Gary handed her a plain white envelope. Your Santa has a minimalistic taste. He peeked from above her head as she opened it. Is it a check for $1 million? I hope it is. She read the card inside, then looked at Reg. Are you serious? Reg shrugged. I usually am. Gary bounced up and down on the fountain. What is it? What is it? Read it out loud. She turned the card around. It read, Helicopter insertion training, aerial entry and exit techniques, platform and conditions dependent. You asked once? I remembered. Ara Mendoza looked up. You made a deal with the Coast Guard? One of the Coast Guard guys lifted his neon cocktail. He wore us down in September. It's gonna be fun, Detective. Another one grinned. And you were right. They got some men cocktails around here. Mendoza shook her head slowly. My union is going to hate you. They don't have to know. Reg winked. She folded the paper, slid it into her jacket, and nodded. Thank you for this. Gary cleared his throat loudly. Moving on before someone cries, Alexandra Romanoff, you're up next. Alex opened the large, carefully wrapped box and smiled. Joe Nesbo, full collection. Wow. I told you. Mendoza sipped her drink. The thrillers you read are way too vanilla. Thank you, Angela. Alex laughed. All right, moving on, Gary said, handing Lucian a small velvet pouch. Lucian Augustine Carter. This feels important. Lucian frowned and opened the pouch. A challenge coin caught the light. Silent service, he read out loud. I got it when I was about your age, Alex said. It's time to pass it on. Lucian closed his hand around it. Wow, Alex, this means so much. Thank you. Gary lifted a box the size of a microwave and shoved it into Shannon's arms. Shannon Elise Price, this one's from me to you. That's alarmingly heavy, Shannon blinked. Open it, Gary said, already grinning. Carefully. She peeled back the paper, then froze. Oh no, she whispered. Oh no, no, no. Inside was an explosion of color, tubes of paint, brushes, pastels, charcoal sticks, metallic inks, a sketchbook so thick it could double as a blunt object. Gary, Shannon looked up slowly. This is either the most thoughtful gift anyone has ever given me, or a cry for help. I might have blacked out at the art store, Gary admitted. They asked if I was opening a school. Shannon pulled out a brush. This is all professional grade. I told them you are very talented, so they gave me this. I love it, she gave him a hug. Thank you, Gary. Gary blinked rapidly. Okay, last one. He lifted a small box, suddenly nervous. No fancy name tag, so I suppose it's me. Lucian stepped closer. Open it. Inside was a USB stick. He frowned. Is this a prank? Lucian took his phone out and pressed play. The music filled the plaza. A beautiful and loud soprano singing "Oh Holy Night" spilled from every speaker in the compound. Gary's breath caught. That's her, isn't it? He whispered. Our very own Althea Applebaum. Lucian nodded. Carnegie Hall, 1962. This is the best gift ever, Lucian, Gary said teary-eyed. She would have loved this. For a moment, no one spoke. The music carried over the plaza, mingling with the clink of glasses and the low hum of the island night. Someone laughed softly. Someone else wiped their eyes and pretended it was because of the smoke from Jimmy's dry ice machine. Gary turned the volume down a notch and raised his glass. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, everyone echoed back. Crank up the volume, losers, Polly screeched from the top of the tree. Party time! This has been Death by Secret Santa, a hilarious, feel-good, cozy mystery. Book 19 in the Island Whodunit series, written by Tess Marlowe.
Thank you for listening to Death by Secret Santa. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next mystery. See you on San Malvino.